Hello and welcome to episode number 19 from In the World of Presentations podcast with 356 Labs and me, Boris, but not only me. And
Yes, I'm Eva. You've already heard about me. You've heard me in the last few episodes.
yep, that's true. That's true. In the last few episodes, we kind of went through the online specifics and the offline specifics. And we went on a very, I would say, rant on how many things can go wrong in both the online world and the offline world. And more or less in the world of presentations, as we like to say. And today we want to do a quick one, which is more like a rapid fire, so that we remind you maybe, or just warn you how many other things can fail. So that we kind of also prepare you what you need to do, so that even if they fail, you are still going to be in a good shape, let's say. So what are the things that can fail in a presentation or during a presentation or before a presentation that you really want to consider or take in mind?
Yeah, so before we actually dive deeper into that topic, if that's the first time you're hearing this podcast, you're hearing an episode from this podcast, as we like to say, first, that's a mistake. Go back and listen to the rest of the episodes. But we're 356 Labs. We're a boutique presentation agency that was created with one simple mission to write, design, and deliver truly effective presentations for its clients.
Of bad presentations.
Yes, and what else we do is we train our clients to write, design, and deliver their own presentations, to do that for themselves. So we've been doing that for almost, 4 years.
Yes.
And we are quite happy with the progress that we are making in that world. So it's something that it takes time and we know it. But as Boris said, we are sick of bad presentations. So we are pushing hard towards improving that field.
Yeah.
But as we also like to call it, by Murphy's Law, when you are presenting, many things will go wrong. So let's dive deeper into what can go wrong when you are presenting both online and offline.
Yeah.
So, Boris, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yeah, there is just so many things that can break. Let's say that you decide to use a mouse or a presenter or a remote, like a remote or in the middle, how you call it. So imagine that one fails. So imagine your mouse fails. Imagine your remote control fails. What are you going to do?
Do you have a spare one?
Do you have a spare one? That's tip number one. Obviously, the answer should be, yes, I have a spare one. So that's the trick here, okay? So what else can fail?
So
it's a rapid fire episode.
Yes, so the second thing I can think of is if you are using a presenter,
again, remote.
You're using a clicker, so at some point you realize that your battery died, or the batteries in your mouse also died.
Or any other device that uses batteries for that matter.
So we, for last year's company birthday, we prepared the so-called presentation emergency kits, where we put batteries for anyone who might need those. So that's very important. Always make sure that you have spare batteries. Yeah. So the third thing...
The third thing, that was number 2 if you didn't get that one. So number 3 actually, imagine that you now became for some reason very, very popular, or in some way, shape or form, you're very, very popular, and now you get invited to speak in foreign offices or foreign venues like other countries. Now, that could be a really cool experience. However, you may forget something. And what you may forget is that the electricity plug is different in other countries. So if you're coming from Europe, that's one thing. If you're presenting in the US, that's another thing. And if you're presenting in the UK or let's say Ireland and the beautiful Dublin, well, that's a third thing. Now the question is, are you prepared to charge do you have the needed electricity converters, the electricity plugs for the specific country? Because if you don't, well, we
that
may have
might be a problem.
That may be a problem. So please make sure that you know where you are going.
Yes, absolutely. I agree on that because I've had that situation. Thankfully, there was someone to save me, but that's not always the case. So, the fourth thing that I can say is actually related to outfit, to your appearance and how people see you. So, I've had the case where I spilled coffee on my white shirt when I was supposed to present in front of, I think it was 40 or 50 people. So that was not a pleasant experience because if you think about it, you're in any way stressed that you're going to present in front of someone. So always make sure that you have a second set of clothes even with you to make sure that you are able to make a quick change and still feel okay during your presentation.
Especially if that presentation is a very important one or critical or just plain simple important. You categorize important in a different way. So yeah, have spare. What else? What else can fail? Well, think about, that's an exotic case, I would say, but it's possible. Well, it is possible. So imagine this. You have some printed materials or you have some other things that you need for your presentation and you are presenting in another country or another place, not your office or somewhere close. And you decide to hire a company like, I don't know, like FedEx or what was the other name? The other one?
DPD, DHL.
DHL, FedEx, or UPS. I was searching for the UPS one. So imagine that you give them the package and tell them, hey, ship that to Berlin, let's say, because we are going to Berlin in a few weeks. We're not going to be shipping something to Berlin, I think, but still, it's possible. It's possible. So you give them that package, and for some reason that package is delayed, and you really need it. You really need it. So what are you going to do then? Have you thought about that? Like, have you thought that that's possible? Even the best company, even the most expensive companies that are shipping packages and stuff like that can fail somewhere along the way. Like, it can happen. So do you have a backup plan on that one? Or what are you doing to make sure that that won't happen? Are you sending the package not 1 week earlier, but 2 weeks? So that there is a spare, like, buffer in the meantime? Well, this is just an idea.
But an important one.
It is impossible to happen.
Yeah, so another one that I've seen and I also have suffered again, it's updating your laptop or your PC right before the presentation. So there was this big session in a conference in Germany, and that guy, he decided to update his PC right before the presentation. He already had put the HDMI cable into his PC and everyone was seeing the screen. It turned out that he was trying to install a humongous Windows update that took, I think, 10 minutes. So 10 minutes of the time of his presentation were taken by a Windows update. Don't do that, because he even had luck that his presentation was well and everything was fine, but there could be the chance where your PC might try to install an update and something might break.
Yeah. And if that happens to you, like on a PC or on a Mac, what do you do? Like, are you going to kill your machine and just stop it by holding the shutdown button for 5 seconds so that it just powers off? Are you like willing to do that because maybe your computer won't boot up afterwards? Or are you going to wait for it? However, how much time are you going to wait for it? Not to mention the fact that if you update your PC, your Mac on an OS level, on a Windows or Mac OS level, that is just one part of the updates that you can apply. You may be using PowerPoint or Keynote or any other software that you are really dependent on for your presentation, and you decide to update that one on the previous day before your session. Really? Are you willing to take that risk? Because if something fails, and that's because of the new update, and oh, by the way, Microsoft, everyone fails on updates. So are you willing to take that risk before an important presentation? Think about it. Like, just think about it. Okay, what else?
Yeah, so something else, the sixth, or is it like the, I don't know.
Like, anyway.
So the next thing that might fail would be the electricity. Let's say you're starting your presentation and the electricity drops and you don't have battery on your PC. So what do you do in that case? Always make sure that you go and present with a full battery, because no matter what your PC is, it should be okay for an hour to hold on a battery.
Yeah, and if the whole thing just drops, if the whole electricity stops, are you actually ready to deliver your presentation without slides? That's a big question right here, because I promise you that most of the people out there are not. So that's also an interesting one. So what else can fail? So imagine that you are going at an event and there is a speaker at that event that's speaking before you. Now you have to connect on his or her place at a specific time. However, for some reason, it's taking long. Like they're still presenting, they're now taking some of your time, and now you have to do something about it. That is, by the way, something that happens quite often, even though it's not pleasant whatsoever. But what are you going to do in that case? Like, if someone takes 5 or 10 minutes from your time, what are you going to do? How are you going to adapt? Have you considered that at all? And that being said, if you are the speaker and you just ended your presentation and you're at a conference training event setup, your main responsibility and your first responsibility once your presentation is over is to please disconnect from the projector and remove your stuff from there, because there is another person coming up. And if you don't disconnect your machine on time for them to set up, they are actually hating you. So first of all, be ready to adapt, because it is possible. And second of all, once your presentation is over, disconnect first and then answer anyone's questions, because there will be potentially questions from the audience.
Yes, we've seen like very unpleasant situations with that one.
Yeah, many times.
Another thing that might go wrong is, for example, you are presenting a 13th version of a presentation, and it turns out that for some reason you do not have the latest version of that presentation with you.
How many times?
Have you considered saving that presentation on a flash drive or somewhere on your, let's say, OneDrive or Google Drive, whatever you are using? So make sure that you also prepare for that situation. Make sure you always have the latest version of the presentation that you're supposed to deliver.
Yeah, not just on your computer, but on OneDrive, Dropbox, flash drive, whatever. Just so on as many sources, many places as possible. Also, yeah. And let's go with one last, because if I am
probably 10.
If I'm listening to this episode, I was going to be. Are there so many things that can fail? Relax, there are quite more. But one last here. So imagine that you are demoing a product or demoing something that requires an internet connection. Let's just imagine that for a second. It's not that hard to imagine, by the way, especially nowadays. So what happens if the internet connection doesn't work, or if it stops for some reason in the middle of it? Or what happens if the product fails, your demo fails for some reason? Like, what are you going to do in this case? Do you just say to your audience, well, guys,
that was it.
That was it. I don't know. See you soon. I don't know what happened, but you see,
no internet.
There is no internet, or the Wi-Fi dropped. What are you going to do in that case? Because the most experienced speakers have backups of everything, including they know what to do if the Wi-Fi or if the internet, if the demo fails. If the Wi-Fi drops, they're ready with a spare device that can kind of connect them to the internet. Sometimes that is their personal phone. However, if your demo fails or if the internet fails, another thing that you will see the most experienced speakers do is they have backups, and they have videos that are actually the backups of those demos. So they prepare a video that showcases the demo. They are not planning to use that video or to play that video. However, they have it. And if they need to, they will go and use it for sure, and that will save the day. So the question here is, do you have a video backup of your demo? Because if not, you may want to rethink that decision. And nowadays, it's extremely easy to do that even from inside of PowerPoint. So go to the Insert tab and go to the right-hand side. You'll see a
Screen
button.
recording.
That's called screen recording. You have that feature for free in your PowerPoint. So if you're not using PowerPoint, Camtasia, OBS, ScreenFlow on a Mac, Sony Vegas, you don't have any excuses.
You can even use QuickTime Player if you're using a Mac for a screen recording. And there was a software that I found recently called Active Presenter or something like that also creates a very nice screen capture, even with the free version.
Okay, so you don't have any excuses anymore.
Yep.
Okay, so these are just a few things, as you can see. These are just a few things that can fail during a presentation. We hope that you are going to take that seriously, let's say. And in the upcoming episode, number 20, actually, should we tell them what we're going to cover? No, right? No, let's not announce that, but you'll see. So in the meantime, and if you have any other presentation coming up and you need some help, or you have any presentation question, don't forget that you can always ask at contact@356labs.com. And also,
you can find us on all possible social media channels. We are everywhere. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, even though we're not that active there, but Instagram, Meetup, so everywhere. Whatever you decide, we're there.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for today. Bye, everyone.
And see you during episode number 20.
Yeah, which is coming up soon.